And welcome to the Sports Angle on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media, here in the sports entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada, the sports betting capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. The final week of the NFL regular season, NFL Week 18, is finally here. So, with all the important matchups and everything that's going on, of course, I had to bring on someone very knowledgeable, someone who knows the NFL inside and out. So, I've had you on the show before, and I'm happy to have you on the show again. King Czar from the King Czar Show, of course. How's it going today?
Man, doing well, man. Doing well. We're at the last week. Currently a big game is on right now. I guess we'll keep you guys updated right now. We got Tennessee driving up by 3 in the third quarter. Man, it's crucial time. It's time to go. Absolutely.
So with this NFL Week 18, all the scenarios and everything, we'll talk about that later in the show, but we're going to do our picks. I'm going to be using Caesars Sportsbook as my reference point for tonight's show. So let's kick it off with a matchup that has huge implications in the NFC. I mean, this is a matchup that if this team wins and some other teams lose, they could secure the first round bye. They could determine their future moving forward. So this matchup right here, according to Caesars Sportsbook, Arizona Cardinals, San Francisco 49ers. Right now, the 49ers are a 14.5-point favorite at home at Santa Clara at Levi Stadium. Now, before I give out my pick, King Czar, who do you got for this matchup? You're going to go with Brock Purdy, the feel-good story of the NFL this year, or are you going to go with whoever the heck at quarterback now? Could be somebody, whoever we don't even know yet, as their quarterback in Arizona.
Wow, man. Well, it's a no-brainer as far as the win. The Niners still have something to play for, so they'll be playing their starters. They're the 2 seed. Minnesota plays before them, which we'll get to that game, obviously, at some point. So, if Minnesota wins that game, the Niners have to win their game in order to maintain the 2 seed. So, and like I said, we'll get to the Minnesota game. I'm taking the Niners. 14. I mean, I think the Cardinals are starting their 4th quarterback this year, I believe.
They are.
He did okay last week, I think, actually. But, again, we're talking the 49ers. I think the 49ers rout the Cardinals. I believe I see it a 30-13 ball game. 49ers cover.
And, I'm going to pick the San Francisco 49ers as well. When it comes to this game, Arizona, they're pretty much competing for where they're going to be in the draft in terms of their draft order, whereas San Francisco, they are going to be determined to get a first-round bye. Now, obviously, the Philadelphia, Minnesota, Dallas, everything that's going on later in our picks, we'll break that down. But because of what San Francisco can gain here, I think they're going to go all out. They're going to try to do everything they can to win. So give me Brock Purdy, give me Christian McCaffrey, and that San Francisco 49ers. Give me the 14.5 in this matchup. So, also, I'm going to ask this question to not just you, King Czar, but everyone watching around the world. The San Francisco 49ers, if they win this game, would be on a 10-game winning streak heading into the playoffs. Now, I am a very big believer in momentum. I believe that momentum is a huge factor into getting into a Super Bowl and potentially winning said Super Bowl. So with the San Francisco 49ers, if they have a 10-game winning streak going into the playoffs, would they be the Super Bowl favorite coming out of the NFC?
You're asking me that question. I'm going to say no. And the reason why, yes, they have, a top-notch defense, a top running game. I don't see the Cinderella story. If it's Purdy, I think Garoppolo's done. If it's Purdy that, has to lead them to the Super Bowl, it's not happening. It's not happening. There's no way there's going to be a Cinderella story. Kudos, looks good. There's going to be a point when midnight strikes. Hopefully it's against the Cowboys. He's going to lose that glass slipper. And and I think they're gonna fall last year. Remember what happened last year? They're gonna fall short. I don't see Brock Purdy getting them to the Super Bowl, so I don't think they'll be the favorites.
And you know what? That's the great thing about football, because I respectfully disagree. To me, the San Francisco 49ers are not just the hottest team in football, but to me, they were my pick in the NFC all the way back to August. In fact, you can watch our prediction show we did here on the Sports Angle on PR Connections Radio, Buffalo versus San Francisco. And hey, I'm sticking with that until things change. So give me the San Francisco 49ers as the favorite for the Super Bowl in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Now, this game's going to have huge implications as well. We have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Atlanta Falcons, and in a surprising twist, the Atlanta Falcons at home are a 4-point favorite against a team that is going to be in the playoffs next week. So with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the team that could potentially take on your Dallas Cowboys in the first round, we don't know, but it's a possibility. So with you being a Cowboys fan, Buccaneers +4, Falcons -4. Who do you got, Czar?
No, I think it's actually going to be the matchup. Philly is bringing back Hurts to lock down the number 1 seed. Giants aren't playing for anything, so they'll lock the number 1 seed up. The Giants, they're benching the quarterback, I know, for this week. So it's pretty much we can get ready for Tampa Bay. We've never beaten Tom Brady. We beat Tampa Bay many times, but we've never beaten Tom Brady. So what better way than to not only kill 2 birds with 1 stone, beat Tom Brady and send his ass packing. Send him home. I would say send him to his bachelor house now because he ain't married no more. Send him home. You can watch reruns of, Leaving the Beaver. Have plenty of time on his hands. So what better way? I like my boy Dennis, shout out to Ignorant Thinkers, the $2 holla. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone, the $2 holla. And that's what I'm going with. Now, as far as the game, they're benching all their players. There's nothing to play for. I'm taking the Falcons at home because of that. They're going to finish strong. I think big games from the rookie Algier at running back. And I actually think Ritter and Drake London will have a solid game to end the season to build on for next year. Give me the Falcons to cover at home.
And you know what? With Tom Brady, by the way, I heard that he's dating another supermodel, so congratulations to him. You go from one to the next. Now, I will say Tampa Bay, give me the +4 here, not because I think they're going to win, but I could see this being a field goal game. Look, it's the Atlanta Falcons. I've said this on the show before. They are the worst team when it comes to betting, because there's times where you will bet them to win and they will not cover. There's times where you'll bet against them and they'll end up covering. So to me, the Atlanta Falcons are by far the worst team to bet on. So give me the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Give me +4 here because I could see Atlanta easily winning by a field goal. So give me Tampa Bay.
Okay. I can see that.
Now, this next divisional matchup here, we have the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Look, we know what happened with the Cincinnati Bengals last week. We all know what happened there. But with Cincinnati and Baltimore, there are a lot of implications that are here when it comes to who's going to face who in next week. So the Cincinnati Bengals, according to Caesar Sportsbook, are a 9-point favorite here against Baltimore. Cincinnati's at home. So Czar and everyone watching around the world, who do you think is going to win here? Baltimore, Cincinnati. This is going to be a good matchup.
Yeah, this is strange. I believe they gave the Bengals the AFC North. Obviously the situation from last week, the Bengals Buffalo game with DeMar Hamlin, glad to see him doing better, recovering. It's strange. With that being said, I still believe Cincinnati is going to play their people. It's also a big division game. It's kind of like bragging rights. They're not going to let Baltimore come on their field, win a game, whatever the case may be. And then there's something to do with this coin toss. Like I'm still digesting this AFC playoff thing. So I'm just going in that this game still means something. To what? I don't know. and I'm going to take the Bengals at home. No Lamar Jackson. There's no way Baltimore can win this game. Give me the Bengals to cover at home.
And I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals to win by 2 touchdowns here against Baltimore. I really don't see how Baltimore is going to compete against Cincinnati here. It's really unfortunate because like Tyler Huntley, Utah Utes legend Tyler Huntley, I'm always going to have respect for him. But there's a reason why there's a huge gap between being a NFL starting quarterback and being an NFL backup quarterback. There's always going to be that difference there. And when it comes to Tyler Huntley, he's simply not Lamar Jackson. As much as they probably would want him to be, he's not Lamar Jackson.
No.
So I would say with Cincinnati, I have them winning by 2 touchdowns. Now I'm going to open this up to the people because, once again, this show is made for you, the people all around the world. Somebody asked, can Cincinnati repeat and get back to the Super Bowl for the second time?
Yes. To be honest with you, I think it's going to be the same AFC title game. Chiefs, Bengals. Sorry, Buffalo. It's what I see. It's what I feel. I think both teams are better. The Bills have problems playing these teams. It's definitely the Chiefs in the playoffs. Yes, they beat them in the regular season, but Kansas City just like down the number 1 seed again. Buffalo, in order for them, in my opinion, to have a shot, they had to become the number 1 seed. I don't think they have a chance. Give me Cincinnati, Kansas City. But I don't think the Bengals are going to the Super Bowl this time.
So it's interesting because I have one of those 2 teams in the AFC Championship game. I agree with you, but I have the second one being flipped. I have Cincinnati and I have Buffalo. I actually think Buffalo and Cincinnati could be the situation. I think that with Baltimore, I had them taking on Buffalo in my AFC prediction I did back in August. Right. But, I think Cincinnati would be the realistic scenario now.
Right.
So on our Twitter, at the Sports Angle on PR, hashtag Sports Angle, somebody asked, what do you think about Desmond Ridder and his rookie season?
Oh, well, man. I was never big on this quarterback class, coming off last year. Wasn't really big on last year, except for, a couple of QBs. I had a little hope for Malik Willis. Oh, terrible. And I know it's a small sample size. I haven't liked Ridder at all. Again, we're just talking about the rookie season. Some are late bloomers. Some come in right away and get the show rolling. I believe the first 3 games, Ridder did not even throw for 100 yards. I didn't say 150. I didn't say 200. 100 yards. But I do believe last week he threw for 170, and I believe that's his highest. I'm not feeling the kid. I was never big on the kid, and I don't think he'll be the answer in Atlanta. I don't see it.
So would Atlanta go and get a quarterback knowing what we've seen from Desmond Ridder, or are they going to hold on to him?
No, Atlanta is going – depending to see where they're drafting at. They can go a number of ways, but I believe, again, when you're a franchise, even though he wasn't a high first-round selection, so you have an excuse to go grab one, but in my opinion, the quarterbacks that will be available that I think potentially a franchise are going to all be gone in the first 5 picks. And I'm not sure. They may be on the cusp of that, and they can also move up. I just think because they just took this kid, they will give him a year next year to prove it. So I think they're either going to, draft another receiver to put opposite of London and Pitts coming back and just give him everything to succeed, or they'll take – the defense is atrocious as well. They can take a left tackle, or they can take the best pass rusher in the draft. Atlanta is a team that needs everything except for probably running back. Like I said, they do have a tight end who did get hurt, and they do have one receiver. Other than that, they could use anything. So
what about offensive line?
I said left tackle potentially as well. Right.
All right. So, are doing our NFL Week 18 picks here on the Sports Angle on PRConnectionsRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rakelli. We're here with King Czar. And we mentioned them a few times the last 5 minutes. The Buffalo Bills, they're going to be taking on the New England Patriots. There is so much that is at stake in this matchup. New England and their playoff hopes, Buffalo and what they're trying to do seeding-wise. Right now, the Buffalo Bills are a 7.5-point favorite according to Caesar Sportsbook. So, King Czar, who do you have in this matchup? Do you have New England getting into the playoffs, or is Buffalo going to be the bully on the street and they're going to toss them to the side?
Yeah, no, this is, I believe, again, obviously, without getting into it last week, very emotional. At home, we saw what Buffalo did to New England, last year at home, especially in the playoffs. We talk about quarterbacks. I'm the least Mac Jones supporter. Belichick made his own bid. When he had Zappy in there, he chose to go back to Mac Jones. That ended his season, in my opinion. I think Buffalo is a rout this week. I think with the emotions, they're going to be real high. I think they're going to make a statement in this game, and I think they're going to thrash the Patriots. Take Buffalo in the spread easy.
And, with the whole Buffalo situation, that's been talked about on every single show. But when it comes to New England, I've said earlier in the show that there are 4 games that I have as the spread and the winner I think is going to be different.
Right.
Will I pick Buffalo to win this game? Absolutely. But I think New England's going to make this game closer than it probably should be. I see this being plus 7.5 for New England because
Right.
New England, if it being a divisional matchup and everything, I don't really see it being a blowout. So give me New England plus 7.5. However, I am picking Buffalo to win this game.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask this next question based off of an interaction I had on social media, once again, at Sports Angle on PR. And I asked everyone on social media, I did a poll question, are the Buffalo Bills the best team in the AFC? And they only received 25% of the vote. Now, granted, Kansas City, I put Cincinnati up there, but Buffalo gained 25% of the vote. Does that surprise you at all, King Czar?
No, not at all. Now, I would say it surprises me because it seems like they come in crowned already. Josh Allen is already crowned MVP. And then look where we're at. He has no shot at MVP. And again, I think they're at best is the 3rd best team in the AFC. And I would say 4th if Lamar Jackson was healthy. So, no, I clearly have Kansas City and Cincinnati better than them. Clearly.
And with Buffalo, I will say that when it comes to the offense, the defense, the way it's well-rounded as an organization, I actually would say Buffalo's number 2. I think Kansas City right now is number 1, right. But you can make an argument between Cincinnati and Buffalo. Buffalo and Baltimore, there's an argument that can be made. Personally, I would have Kansas City at 1, Buffalo 2, Cincinnati would be 4, and Baltimore would be 3 if they were healthy. When Baltimore has Lamar Jackson and everything's running on a full, 8 cylinders, Baltimore is a lot better.
Right, I get that.
Now, this next matchup's not going to have anything to do with playoff implications, but unfortunately, this game has to be played, so we're going to have to talk about it. The Carolina Panthers, New Orleans Saints game. New Orleans Saints will be at home at the Caesar Superdome. So, of course, Caesar Palace has the New Orleans Saints at 3.5-point favorite. So, just very quickly, Czar, who do you have here, Carolina or New Orleans?
Yeah, this could go either way. 2 teams that are eliminated. 2 teams that had a shot. Carolina snaking up last week, big lead against Tampa Bay early. Didn't know how to keep it. I'm just going to go with the home team. I'm going to go with the team, that has some players that's been there. Probably a little bit better defense. Right now, probably a little bit better at the quarterback position, and that's not saying a lot. But give me the Saints. You know what? I'm going to say this is a field goal game probably. So, what's the spread? 4.5?
3.5, according to Caesar Sports.
Yeah, I'm taking the Saints for the win and probably a push, or I guess it's not a push with a 0.5 point, but I'll take the Saints to cover, man. Maybe they win by 4.
And, if a game like this, I really believe whoever scores the last touchdown is going to win this game.
Right.
So I will take New Orleans, home field advantage. One of the only times I'm actually going to give the home field advantage the positive here. So I'll take New Orleans minus 3.5 here. And sticking on New Orleans for a second, their former head coach in Sean Payton, he has been in the news a lot recently about the possibility of him being a head coach next year. A lot of people don't know what team or what teams are currently talking to him. But one of the teams we do know about definitively is Denver. There was a report came out that Denver has already talked to him. Of course, fans are talking about Arizona and Dallas and all these other teams with Sean Payton, Vic Fangio being the defensive coordinator. That's come up as a possibility. So if you had to put on your crystal ball and you have to say King Czar, next year, Sean Payton is going to be the head coach of?
Man, you know what? It's not going to be Denver. Why would he want to go there? Of the teams, and I speculated, we had some discussions on this earlier. Wow. To put me on the spot, what team would I think he could take over? Some people are speculating New England, that Belichick's going to retire. I just don't see him going there, even if that happens. I think Belichick's son is probably going to get that job. You know what? He likes a good quarterback, man. Russell Wilson ain't that right now. Give me Arizona and Kyler Murray. Sean Payton will get that team on track. Give me, nice weather, a little bit too hot, but could be worse. So give me the Cardinals.
And when it comes to Sean Payton, as much as I love Steve Wilkes, it seems like they're not going to be bringing him back in Carolina. Carolina having one of their top picks, they're going to have a good draft selection in next year's draft. So I wouldn't be surprised if Carolina ends up being the team that Sean Payton ends up going to, not just because he's going to have to take on New Orleans twice a year, which will be bittersweet for him, but you also have a quarterback that will be taken next year that Sean Payton can pretty much use as his quarterback moving forward.
Right. Okay. I can see that.
And, speaking of quarterbacks and speaking of young quarterbacks, let's go to my quarterback in Justin Fields out there in Chicago. So you have the Minnesota Vikings, Chicago Bears. So according to Caesar Sportsbook, the Minnesota Vikings, 7-point favorite on the road, going to Soldier Field in Chicago. Now, the Chicago Bears potentially, getting the number 2 overall pick. There was a lot of people talking about the number 1 pick, but it's going to be the number 2 pick. And you have Minnesota trying to do what they're doing seeding-wise. So, King Czar, who do you have here, Minnesota or Chicago, with Minnesota being a 7-point favorite?
Yeah, this, like I said, it's funny because Minnesota actually has something to play for. Obviously, I never liked Minnesota or Detroit outside the code. The Bears, however, they're playing for draft seeding. They're trying to get the number 1 pick so they can trade it because they don't need a quarterback and they can get some draft capital. Fields isn't playing. Once I heard that, that's really all I needed to hear. Give me the Vikings. In a cold environment. Against a terrible. It was Nathan Peterman at quarterback, probably one of the worst.
Nathan Peterman, yeah.
Yeah. Give me the Vikings to cover for sure.
You know what? I got Minnesota winning by 2 touchdowns when they announced Nathan Peterman was going to be the quarterback in Chicago. I mean, that announcement, let alone, gave me the incentive to say Minnesota. So I will say that Minnesota will win here. I don't think their seeding will change at all. They will be exactly where they are now, but give me Minnesota -7. And sticking with Chicago for just a minute. Now, it's no secret that I'm a Chicago Bears fan. I'm very well known for being probably one of the most unbiased Bears fans you can find. But when it comes to the Chicago Bears, they have over $100 million in cap space next year. They have Justin Fields. They have 2 running backs out there in Chicago. But if you are the general manager, if you're Ryan Poles out there in Chicago, King Czar, what's the first move you're going to make this offseason to make the Chicago Bears better?
Man, bring in the best receiver possible available of the group. one, you got to set Fields up. With they brought in Claypool, but we don't know what Claypool is. He may not even be a number 2. So to be honest with you, you have to.
Maybe Quentin Johnston from TCU. Maybe.
Well, that's in the draft, but I'm thinking free agency. Maybe try to grab a vet. Possibly him. Possibly. I like the kid, the other kid in Ohio State, not Marvin Harrison.
Jackson Smith.
Yeah. There's a couple. There's a guy at Tennessee that I like as well. Hyatt. You definitely got to get this man targets. I do like Komet. We see what Komet can do now that he does have some type of a quarterback. He's a talented tight end. So I'm definitely just, like Miami did with Tua. They put him in the best position to succeed. And even though it tailed off and, stuff happened, but for a minute, man, Tua was changing my mind. Like he had a minute where I'm like, okay, this guy can play, and he's
MVP candidate. Like halfway through the year, he was MVP.
Yeah. So that's what I'm doing is I'm putting Fields in the best position. Definitely the offensive line, So.
Yeah, and if I'm Ryan Poles, my first thing I'm doing is look. We already have a center. Okay, in fact, our center is probably the best person on our offensive line. But if I'm Ryan Poles, I am adding the 2 best tackles and the 2 best guards in free agency. I'm spending my money on my offensive line. That's what I'm doing in the first move.
Right.
And with receivers, by the way, when it comes to free agency, the Bears don't. They don't spend big money on receivers. I mean, the last time we did that was maybe Allen Robinson. Of course, we all know how that ended with that situation, him going to LA. So I would say with the Chicago Bears, they'll probably add 1 or 2 veteran receivers. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being Sammy Watkins or Deshaun Jackson or Demarcus Robinson or like one of those guys.
Got cut too.
Yeah. I'm just saying, as a Bears fan, I've been here way too long. They're going to bring in some veteran receivers like they did with Victor Cruz all those years ago. Right, that kind of situation. So
right.
Now, getting back to the NFL Week 18 picks here on Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rakelli. We're here with King Czar. This game is vital to the 7th and final seed. The Cleveland Browns on the road going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm never going to pronounce it as what it is. It's Heinz Field. Gosh dang it. The Steelers, 2.5-point favorite, according to Caesar Sportsbook. Now, obviously, the Steelers have a 5% chance of making the playoffs, but it's still a chance. So I will say this, Pittsburgh Steelers, 2.5-point favorite. Czar, who do you got?
Yeah, man. Kudos, man. Mike Tomlin's a hell of a coach, man. Man. Again, Pickett. This class, man. Don't do it for me. I don't think he's the future. But what Tomlin was able to do with the injuries, TJ being out, this dude is a hell of a coach. So let me see. So I mean, they need Miami and New England to both lose, right?
Yes.
They need to win. New England's going to lose. Miami is 50-50. They're going to win this game. There's no doubt about it, in my opinion. There's people that think Cleveland is going to go in there, Myles Garrett and Watson. I think Pittsburgh is going to win. They're not going to let Cleveland come in there and win this game to give Tomlin a losing season for the first time. They win this game, a typical AFC North defensive battle, 16-13, Pittsburgh, and they cover.
I will be taking Pittsburgh to win by a field goal as well. And, before we get to the Dallas game, because I know you being a Dallas Cowboys fan, I wanted to get to the half-hour mark before we get to Dallas. But before we get into that, the Pittsburgh Steelers, very quickly, Mike Tomlin has been a very hot topic in Pittsburgh. Half the fan base wants him to be extended. Half the fan base wants him fired every single week. I've always believed that Mike Tomlin is one of the best coaches in the NFL. If I had to do a ranking, he's top 3 in my opinion. But what is your opinion on Mike Tomlin? What do you think about Mike Tomlin as a coach?
Yeah, no, top two. It's him and Andy Reid. No, top three. Sorry. Belichick, Reid, and Tomlin. Those are the top. Pete Carroll's probably four, but he's a top three coach. Belichick won. He's the GOAT. But Andy Reid and Tomlin, Reid obviously is been doing better when you got the Michael Jordan of football, Patrick Mahomes. But Andy Reid is still a hell of a coach, and no one saw that in Patrick Mahomes to get him in the first place. They were like, "Who's this guy?" It was Trubisky, it was Watson. Who was this Mahomes guy? You know what I mean?
Deshaun Kaiser too. Don't forget the Notre Dame guy.
There you go. So no, hell, top three definitely. You can argue top two. Tomlin's fantastic, man.
I also will say shout out to Lovie Smith. Me being a Bears guy, man, Lovie Smith has probably been dealt one of the worst hands in football, but he's actually making it work. If anybody's been watching Texans games all year, you would know that team has done a lot better than they actually should.
Yeah, right.
Now, getting to the Dallas Cowboys game, we're at the half-hour mark here on the Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com. Your Dallas Cowboys taking on the Washington Commanders. We know the announcement that the Dallas Cowboys are taking on a rookie quarterback who has not played so far, in Sam Howell. So when it comes to Dallas, when it comes to Washington, what is your input and what's your outlook for this game?
Yeah, man, again, what's cool about this scenario is the Niners, the Eagles, and the Cowboys game are all at the same time. Yeah. So no one, so pretty much everyone's got to go in fighting. So I think
scoreboard watching. Yeah.
Right. I do think we do play our starters at least for in half, depending on how the game looks. So with that being said, and then with Washington, putting in just what you described, I think we'll take care of business and we'll cover. We'll probably win by 10 to 13 points. But like I said, because it is still possible, meaning, and it sucks that the Giants aren't going to fight for this game against Philly, and we know that going in. But the NFL is crazy. It's wacky. You don't know because they play at the same time. You still got to go in thinking, hey, we got a chance of the number one seed. Or we got a chance of the division. So I'm definitely going to take the Cowboys to cover.
And when it comes to debut quarterbacks, a quarterback that you're not going to have film on, there's not going to be any study session, there's going to be nothing like that. Brand new, right out of the box. Right. Two things can happen. One, the team is going to absolutely destroy the young quarterback. You're going to, put him down a peg, make sure like, hey, welcome to the NFL, kid, that kind of thing. Or we've seen in the past as well, a young quarterback, because there's no film and really no study on him, they come in and they actually do a better job than they were expected to do. Right. So with Sam Howell, once again, I said there was 4 games here that my pick is going to be different than what I think is going to happen. Give me Washington +7 here because I could actually see in this being a close game. Because of that wild card factor of it being a rookie quarterback and not having any footage or anything of him as of note, I will say that give me Washington +7. I think Dallas will win by either a field goal or they'll win by 4 points. I see this being a closer game than probably expected.
Okay.
And, before we get to the next matchup, the Washington Commanders, their head coach, Ron Rivera, Chicago Bears legend, Ron Rivera. There's been speculation that he might be fired at the end of the season, that this will be his final game as a Washington Commanders head coach. Do you think there's any accuracy to that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And even just his press conferences, he says silly stuff. I think he wants to get fired. When they asked him about being eliminated from the playoffs, he was like, oh, we're eliminated? Like, you don't even know your position in your own team. And the way he's handled the quarterback situation there and the musical chairs of it, yeah, he more than wore out his welcome with that franchise. Absolutely.
And, speaking of that situation, we have the Los Angeles Chargers and the Denver Broncos. And surprisingly, the Denver Broncos, according to Caesar Sportsbook, 3-point favorite at home. with the Chargers, who are a playoff team. Now, when it comes to LA, when it comes to Denver, obviously Denver is not battling for a draft pick because Seattle has their draft pick. And
Right.
for LA, there really isn't much seating there. So on the surface, this looks like a meaningless game because there really isn't much in terms of movement. Now, who do you have here, Denver or LA?
Yeah, this is a weird one. Divisional game. Denver playing for nothing. I mean, Chargers really aren't playing for nothing. But Week 18, these are the hardest games to pick because you don't know how much a certain player is going to play or the motivation for it. Will the team that's terrible tank? But like you just said, they don't have their pick. So tanking ain't going to help. And will the Chargers play Herbert 4 quarters? With that said, I'm still taking the Chargers. Denver is just atrocious. I'm taking San Diego. Even with the backup QB, I mean, just they have a really good football team, and I'm sure they're not going to rest everybody. So give me the Chargers and the cover and go into the playoffs on a little bit of a streak. First time Herbert making the playoffs.
And I will take LA here. I could see it being a touchdown game. I mean, look, Broncos country, let's ride. But hey, if you're Seattle, you are loving this game. Like, if you're the Seattle Seahawks, you're probably going to be watching this game, having it bookmarked as something you have to pay attention to. Because, man, this Denver Broncos team, if there was any organization that just hand wrapped and gifted another team a present, it was the Denver Broncos and the Seattle Seahawks. So, Seattle, regardless if they make the playoffs or not, they'll be looking at a shiny new toy in the top 5 of the draft next year.
Right.
And speaking of Denver, we all know about their head coaching vacancy. They got rid of Nathaniel Hackett. There's going to be a new coach in Denver next year. How much input do you think Russell Wilson will have in terms of who's going to be his coach next year?
Probably a lot, because I think what people aren't saying, I think Russell Wilson is showing that he's a system quarterback all these years. And unfortunately, they exist. And when you play in the same system for so long and you're a star, there's no way you perform like this. I don't care if you leave and it's new. And it don't take this long to put things together. So I think he'll have a great deal of input because they want to make sure next year, with all they gave up, they put them in the best position to succeed. I really believe that.
I mean, I could say very similar to Cam Newton, for example. I thought Cam Newton in Carolina, he was a great quarterback there, and he goes to New England, and he really didn't fit the system, really didn't fit the certain style that New England had. But to me, I feel like Cam Newton and Russell Wilson were kind of the same way, where you put him in a certain system for long enough, you put him away, and you send him someplace else, and it kind of exposes to certain flaws that they had in their game.
Right.
Now, this next game, we have the Houston Texans, Indianapolis Colts. Houston Texans trying to get the number 1 overall pick. Bryce Young from Alabama has been the, consensus number 1 pick at this point. Indianapolis Colts, they're not really battling for much either, just draft positioning. So I would say, Colts being a 2.5 point favorite according to Caesar Sportsbook. So I will say with the Indianapolis Colts, it'll be an interesting game. But who do you have here, Czar? You going to go with the Colts or you going to go with the Texans?
Oh, man, what's up with all these? I got to take a drink of water on that one. This is another game, dude. Flip a coin. I don't know what's going to happen. These teams, I'm going to go with what you just said. Houston's playing harder. Lovey still has the locker room. This team, they've upset a few teams already. They've made it close with a few other teams. The Colts are going the opposite way. Saturday comes in, beats the Raiders after talking trash about the Raiders as an analyst that week leading up to him getting the position, which was hilarious because he trashed them, gets a coaching job, has to play them, and he beats them. But ever since that, it's been give me the Texans.
Terrible.
We keep it. We're fighting for I call him James Evans. Lovie Smith, good times. He will keep his job. Houston Texans cover.
And I will take the Indianapolis Colts here to win by a field goal. As much as I like Houston, as much as I love and respect Lovie Smith, I just think the Houston Texans securing the number 1 overall pick. they'll focus on what they got to do next year. This year, they're kind of just going to put that in the rear view and move on next year. Now, this game is super valuable and really important. The Los Angeles Rams, led by Baker Mayfield. Is he a bust? Is he not a bust? We'll talk about that later. But then you have the Seattle Seahawks battling for a wild card spot. A 6-point favorite, according to Caesar Sportsbook. I know the 12-man out there in Seattle are going to be loud. They are going to make an impact in this game in Seattle like they normally do. So who do you have here, LA or Seattle?
Yeah, give me Seattle. They have a playoff. They win and Green Bay lose. They're in the playoffs. So they played before Green Bay. So they're definitely motivated. They're going to finish this, season strong. Pete Carroll, one of his best coaching jobs in a long time. Give me Seattle to cover. Kenneth Walker, if you're still in fantasy for the last weekend, some leagues do, some don't. Get Kenneth Walker in your lineup. I think he has 100 yards, a 100-yard game, probably a touchdown or so. And Seattle to cover against the dreaded wasted season from the Super Bowl champs.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to go with Seattle as well. Not just because I have family up in Seattle, but I truly believe that they will get the job done and they will pick up the victory on Sunday. Now, let me go to Twitter real quick because I, want people to be heard here on the show. And, hashtag sports angle. Who do you think will be the coach of the Indianapolis Colts next year? Clearly, this is somebody who's a Colts fan. So
right. Wow. Man.
DeMeco Ryans, maybe?
I got one.
All right, who you got?
Kellen Moore.
Interesting enough, I was going to say Dan Quinn. I think that Dallas is going to lose one of their coordinators.
They will. It'll be Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore go there with Jonathan Taylor coming back, off of a subpar season after, a phenomenal season. They'll get what they do a quarterback, we don't know, but obviously they're obviously going to be there drafting. They should get one of the studs, in my opinion, I believe. But yeah, what better way to fix an offense than to hire a guru, right? I think Eric Bieniemy's waiting for Kansas City. I think Bieniemy's going to wait for Reed to leave, so he's going to stay with the Chiefs. He would be the other option, but I'm going to go with Kellen Moore.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm just more curious on what veteran quarterback the Colts are going to bring in. I mean, this would be the 5th quarterback in a row that they would have brought in at this point. I'm just more curious to see who they're going to bring in. So.
Right.
All right. Now, the Seattle Seahawks, it actually was going to be a question I'm going to ask you. With Geno Smith and how well he has done, will the Seattle Seahawks bring back Geno Smith and have him be their quarterback next year?
Yeah, I think what they'll do is, again, depending on how this draft goes, teams moving up, getting position for the quarterbacks. There's 3 quarterbacks there that could potentially go in the first, 8 picks. I think potentially they could get one of those quarterbacks, let Geno come back for 1 year, groom, whether it's Levis, Stroud, whatever the case, and then, get him ready for the following year. So I do think they'll bring Geno back.
And I do agree that Geno Smith will be back. However, I think the Seattle Seahawks will focus on defense for that first round and then draft a quarterback in day 2. Because a lot of people forget that there is a good amount of talent at the quarterback position that will be there, like Tanner McKee, for example, Hendon Hooker from Tennessee. There's a good amount of talent that's going to drop later in the draft.
Steve Clifford, Penn State. No, just playing.
Cam Rising from Utah. Okay. But now these next 3 matchups, I saved them for last, doing our NFL Week 18 picks here on the Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. We're here at King Czar. Now, this matchup is the most lopsided one of the week, but it's also the most important. Now, according to Caesar Sportsbook, the Philadelphia Eagles are a 16-point favorite against the New York Football Giants. So, Czar, who do you got here?
Yeah, Philadelphia, they bring your Hurts back. They didn't realize they were going to have to do that. They thought Minshew was good for one win. They had no clue that Week 18 would show up when they first put Minshew in, that they would be fighting for a division at Week 18.
Right.
So that being said, no, they're going to clearly win this game. And Giants already is starting a quarterback who's never threw an NFL pass, Bass or whatever his name is. So give me the Eagles. I mean, the divisional game, will they cover 16? Not sure, but they clearly win this game, lock up the number one seed.
And I will say this will be a blowout, so give me the Philadelphia Eagles, not just because of the rookie quarterback, but when it comes to New York Giants, they already have their position locked up. Philadelphia doesn't. So when it comes to Philadelphia, give me them minus 16. Now, with the Philadelphia Eagles, let's assume real quick they do get that first round bye. If you're Philadelphia, which team do you not want to face in the divisional round? Tampa Bay or Dallas?
Oh, that would be that. Oh, let's shoot. Oh, man. I mean, you know what? Part threes are weird because then they both split. Usually it's hard to beat a team three times. Happened to us, it happened to the Giants, I believe. Again, it's what I mean. It's a weird thing, but now with a split. But I'm gonna look at it like this: yes, Tampa Bay has Tom Brady, but I just think from a full roster standpoint, age, the defense that we have with Parsons and Diggs, and I would much rather face Tampa Bay if I'm in the Philadelphia Eagles organization. Absolutely.
And I'm going to say Dallas, mainly because of the fact that, look, Tom Brady is still Tom Brady. It doesn't matter if he is 150 years old or if he was only 30 years old. Tom Brady always finds a way to do the impossible in playoff games. When there is a situation that you don't expect him to be in, he finds a way to get it done. So until Tom Brady officially retires, actually puts in the paperwork and everything,
Right.
I will say that you would not want, in terms of all of that, I would say Dallas. So I'm going to go there. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Now, these next two games are pretty much go or go home. You have to win it or you are done. You have the New York Jets, the Jets, Jets, taking on the Miami Dolphins, playing at the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. According to Caesar Sportsbook, the Dolphins, 3.5-point favorite. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. The whole Skylar Thompson situation, rookie quarterback for Miami. But the New York Jets do have Zach Wilson. I don't really think he's as good. He's not really a good quarterback either. So I will say here, who do you have, the Jets or the Dolphins?
Yeah, man, this is tough. Flacco's starting this week. Skylar, they both need help. Miami, New England's in the driver's seat for that seventh spot. Obviously, they have the toughest matchup. So most likely it does open the door for the Jets or Miami. So the question, so if New England loses and the Jets win and Pittsburgh win, does Pittsburgh get it or do the Jets get it?
The Pittsburgh Steelers would get in.
So the Jets are pretty much assed out.
Jets are pretty much out.
Yeah. Give me the Dolphins. Very close ball game. Probably field goal from their kicker. I think it's Sanders. Very ugly game. Terrible quarterbacks. You got an old quarterback that needs to retire. They still got the better skilled position players. We obviously know the receivers, probably the best duo in the league. And then you got Mostert in the backfield. Give me Miami in a very close ball game.
And this will be the fourth and final one that I will say here on the show. Give me the New York Jets plus 3.5. I see Miami winning by a field goal. I think that Miami, because of how bad the game is going to be, have two really weird quarterback situations. So give me the Dolphins to win by a field goal. So the Jets plus 3.5. Now, with Miami, there's a lot of questions about what they're going to do next year. We all know about Lamar Jackson. All right, we all know that Lamar Jackson, he will even the chance that he can leave Baltimore. So if you're the Miami Dolphins and you know that Lamar Jackson loves Miami, all right, there's no secret that Miami is pretty much his second home. So if you're Miami, do you dump Tua and bring in Lamar?
Oh, well, absolutely. If you're able to get Lamar, it's a sweepstakes battle. It's going to be a bidding war, you know what I mean, per se. But that's a hell of a place for him to go. Go from a team where he really has no help to a team, you know, like you said, the best receiving duo in the league, man. That could get real ugly for the rest of the league. So 100%, if you can go all in on, you know, Lamar Jackson, send Tua back to Hawaii. Sorry.
And then last matchup for our NFL Week 18 picks here on the Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian McKelly. We're here at King Czar. And I saved this one for last because it literally is, you know, do or die between these two teams. Detroit Lions, Green Bay Packers. The winner moves on. The loser goes home. So Detroit Lions on the road, Green Bay. We all know what happened the first time. Detroit pulling up the upset. So according to Caesar Sportsbook, the Packers 5-point favorite. Czar, who do you got?
Man, I kind of said this a few weeks ago that Green Bay would run the table. Kind of feels like, I believe it was 2010 or 2011 when they won the
2010. Yeah.
It feels like that a little bit. Give me Green Bay at home. Detroit doesn't win in Green Bay, especially not in December, January. No way, no how. Too cold for a dome team. Green Bay's rolling. Zaire, he just shut down Jefferson. The defense is rolling. Give me the dual running backs, Aaron Jones. Give me Dylan. Give me Aaron Rodgers trucking right into the playoffs and be one of the scariest teams that you want to face in the first round.
So the Green Bay Packers, the team that I one day want to see go 0-17. A Green Bay Packers organization that since 5-year-old me was walking around, I have grown to hate this team with a passion. Now, all logic should tell me to take the Packers -5. All the statistics, all the analytics, everything I've seen should tell me to take Green Bay. With that being said, the Sports Angle on PR Connection Radio, I'm taking Detroit, Jared Goff, DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, Jamison Williams, Emeron Ross St. Brown. This is a team that is playoff bound. Okay? Detroit is a team that I believe is not, if it's not this year, then it's next year. They're going to be a playoff team. I mean, this Detroit Lions team has one or two pieces that they need to, you know, replace, but this is essentially a almost done team. So give me Detroit, give me +5. I say the Detroit Lions are going to get it done.
This breaking update to all the fans out there, if you know, it'll be reviewed. Jacksonville just sacked Dobbs and a fumble 6 with 2:51 remaining to go up 19-16. Oh man!
I picked the Tennessee Titans +6.
So this is my lock. Jacksonville is my lock of the week. So you see how I'm sitting right now. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So beautiful. Let's see if it sticks, though. But anyway, we'll keep you updated on that. So I wanted to throw that in there, but you will be wrong about Detroit. So anyway, go ahead.
Hey, we'll wait and see, man. But like I said, I think they're going to be a playoff team. If it's not this year, it's next year.
Now remember, they need Seattle to lose. Green Bay doesn't. So even if Detroit were to beat Green Bay, you hope the Rams beat Seattle. Then they're in.
There you go. Important information for King Czar. That's why I bring him on the show. Now, since we are getting towards the end of the first hour here on the Sports Angle on PR Connection Radio, I want to talk about your Dallas Cowboys for just a minute. Because when it comes to your Dallas Cowboys, they have the talent. All right. There is no doubt that your Dallas Cowboys have the talent. But what does the Dallas Cowboys, in terms of Dak Prescott, what does he need to do to secure them a Super Bowl? Like, what does Dak Prescott need to do to get Cowboys Nation, America's team, to a Super Bowl?
He needs to play carefree football. Obviously, this is a team sport. I don't like to put everything on the quarterback because you see a quarterback like Stafford last year, an interception machine. Even last year, I think he had 3 consecutive games with a pick six. I know 2 for sure. So sometimes that happens, and I say this all the time. In order to win a Super Bowl, you got to get lucky. I know that's so vague, but sometimes the ball has to bounce a certain way. A crucial turnover here, you got to get lucky. Sometimes you need a special teams to do something. I know the quarterback position is and the Dallas quarterback is probably the most, looked at position outside of a New York Yankees shortstop in sports. The two, to me, I think those are the 2 positions in sports that is crucial. Is everyone, you make a mistake, it's blown up. You do well, you're the world. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're everything.
As much as I hate this team, I would have to say being a quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, man. I would say being a Packers quarterback.
Maybe, I guess I could put them up there. But yeah, no, I just think he has to continue to play. He's a good quarterback. I just think every now and then he makes a careless mistake. He's really good at reading defenses. I do think he needs to run more. I know ever since he had that gruesome injury, he don't run as much. And so he's kind of taken away, he's cheating himself of being more of a dual threat, which is very important in today's football. So I think he does. I think he needs to use his legs more. And I just think he just needs to play a little bit more carefree. We have the weapons, we have the defense, we have the running game. So just settle down and just play Dak Prescott football, and I think we'll be fine.
And speaking of said running game that you were talking about, yes, it is true that Dallas Cowboys have a 2 running back committee. You got Tony Pollard, have Ezekiel Elliott. Currently, Elliott is still the number 1 guy, even though Pollard, in my opinion, has been outperforming him really the last 2 seasons. Pollard has been outperforming Elliott. But when it comes to the playoffs, let's just say you're taking on Tampa Bay in the wild card, then you move on to Philadelphia in the divisional round. With having that 2 running back committee, what does Dallas really need to do with their running backs in order to secure a victory? What certain things that have to be put in motion in order for Elliott and Pollard to thrive?
Well, that's one thing we were able to figure out, and that's why it's working. We're keeping them both fresh. Elliott, more importantly, with a little bit more mileage on his body, being a workhorse for the first 4 or 5 years of his career. So we were able to find that medium where, Elliott plays, Pollard plays, depending on the situation. And I think that's why it works for both. And Elliott has had a bounce back year from last year. And Pollard obviously made the Pro Bowl for the first time. So Kellen Moore, like I said, is a genius. He figured it out. Let's keep it going.
All right, Boise State quarterback. I mean, he'll be a legend at Boise State forever. Now, I will say, by the way, let's go to Twitter real quick. I have to read this comment for laughs and giggles. Hashtag sports angle. The Green Bay Packers are not only going to the playoffs, they are going to win the Super Bowl, baby. Hashtag go Pack go. You see,
Hey, is that Josh on Twitter? Shout out to Josh Bailey.
You see, Czar, do you see what I got to deal with here? Like, there's a reason why I hate the Packers the way I do. Like, it's just ridiculous. Anyway, back to the Dallas Cowboys real quick, talking about your team, America's team. The receiver position is interesting. You have CeeDee Lamb, who arguably is a top 5 receiver in the NFL. You can make that argument now.
Yes, you can.
He is a top 5 receiver. But the rest of your receiving core, I would say, is a bit mid. When it comes to Michael Gallup, Noah Brown, the situation you have there, what other weapons really need to get involved in order to secure a Super Bowl for Dallas? Because you can't just have one guy be your receiving core.
Right. Well, first and foremost, Michael Gallup, we just paid this guy coming off a torn ACL, and it's taking him a little bit to get back. And he's had key catches here and there, but I need him to really become a true number 2, like the Penguin, Jalen Waddle. That's what we need on the other side of the ball. We need Michael Gallup to continue to progress, get over that injury, step up. Obviously, Dak's blanket is Dalton Schultz. We definitely need him to continue. Now, we have a little posse. We have 4 tight ends. We have Ferguson, Dalton. We have what we call this little posse. We have 2 other tight ends. They're all athletic. They're all fast. So if there's some way we can implement, we kind of inter-rotate them with obviously Schultz playing the most. Ferguson, is a rookie that we drafted this year. But if you want me to point out key guys, it's definitely Michael Gallup, one. Take some of the pressure off CeeDee Lamb being doubled. We're moving him in the slot a lot. And then, of course, Schultz, sure-handed tight end. I don't know if he's going to be there next year. He wants big money. And I think he is a good tight end, but because we're so deep with the position, we may not hold on to him. And who knows? He may go with Kellen Moore over to the Colts. But he definitely is going to be a key to our playoff run. I will say that for this year.
And before I move on to the Cowboys, we're at the end of hour number 1 here on the Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. We're here at King Czar talking about the Dallas Cowboys and your offensive line. Now, I will point out, and I will say on record, yes, do I think the Philadelphia Eagles have a better offensive line? I do. Do I think the Dallas Cowboys still have a top 5 offensive line? I do. I'm a huge fan of Tyler Smith. The rookie you took in the first round was an excellent choice. You really made an excellent move there. But when the rest of your offensive line, do you think that it's going to be able to hold up for the entire playoffs in order for your offensive line to protect Dak, open the running lanes up for Zeke and for Pollard?
Yeah, we should be healthy going in. We should get our center back. He got hurt last week. They said he should be available for the playoff game. Obviously, Zach Martin is one of the greatest of all time at the right guard position. We brought in Peters to kind of move around and back up, the legend from Philadelphia, funny enough.
And Chicago legend, too.
There you go. Teron, the Smith brothers, man, I love them. Teron was able to transition and go right over. And you mentioned Tyler Smith, dude. We hit. You can talk about Jerry Jones all you want. When that dude draft linemen, they play. That dude came in. We wasn't expecting Teron Smith, although he's getting older as we get injured. We didn't expect him to go in. We were playing him at left guard. He jumped right over to left tackle. And Teron Smith, the all-pro, came back and lost his job. We moved him over to right tackle because we lost Steele, who was another good offensive right tackle. So, again, going into the playoffs, we should be fully healthy with both Smiths, Martin, Biazzi coming back, and McGovern. So I love it. Peters is our 6th man, if you want to call it that, from a O-lineman standpoint. But I like where we're at right now. Absolutely.
And with the Dallas Cowboys, they have the number 2 ranked offense in the NFL. Only the Kansas City Chiefs would be number 1, of course.
Right.
Now, there's people who love offense, and I get it. I get the people who love the high-powered offense in the Super Bowl. I mean, I think 9 or 8 years ago, we had the best offense and the number 2 offense in the Super Bowl going up against each other. It turned out to be a classic. I think it was New England and Seattle, if I remember correctly. Right. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm just going to toss it out here. If Kansas City, the number 1 offense, and Dallas, the number 2 offense, met in the Super Bowl, how high-powered and how explosive would that Super Bowl be in terms of how well the offenses would perform?
Well, you know how the games go. They never go according to plan. When you see a matchup, you're like, "Oh, this is going to be this," and then it turns into this. I'm a Cowboy fan. I don't want to say this biasly, but think about this: if we make it to the Super Bowl, means we probably have beaten the Buccaneers, the Niners, and the Eagles, most likely, right? Which means we're probably playing some damn good football, which means Micah Parsons is probably playing some damn good football. How do you beat Mahomes? The Buccaneers did it in the Super Bowl, right?
They did.
Pressure him. So I think, honestly, if we get to the Super Bowl, means our pass rush of Lawrence and them are working. I think we actually pressure them and we win that game if that is the matchup. Because, again, I'm basing it on getting there. If we get there and going through what we got to go through, Kansas City just outscores you. Mahomes is Mahomes, the Michael Jordan,
Oh yeah,
whatever.
of course we know. Yeah.
Right. So the only way to beat them is pressure. We're the NFL leaders in takeaways. We were the NFL leaders in sacks up for a while. I know Parsons got passed by Bosa and a couple. I don't know team-wise if we're still number one. But regardless, we're one of the better pass rushing teams in the league. So if that did become the matchup, I think we pull that out because we have the better defense and the better pass rush to kind of, frustrate Mahomes per se, a la Buccaneers when Tom Brady first came to Tampa Bay.
Yeah, Dallas being a number 6 ranked defense. Obviously, there's 2 teams in the NFC that would be above them on the defensive rankings, but still number 6. I mean, that's still impressive, though. The fact that, you had a number 2 offense and number 2 and number 6 defense, that's still pretty solid. And hey, and like I said, the Titans were +6. So either way, I won this game either way. So there you go.
Either way, the lock looks good. It's still 1:30. I never say it's over until it's over. I've been watching football a long time. So it's not over yet, but it looks very good for my lock. We'll let you know when it's final.
There you go. And that's our update from King Czar. Now, since this show is in Las Vegas, and yes, the Raiders lost to the Chiefs earlier Saturday morning. All right. But since this show is broadcasted in Las Vegas, the sports betting capital of the world, I have to talk about the Raiders for a few minutes here. I'm pretty much obligated at this point to talk about the Raiders. So, the Las Vegas Raiders, Derek Carr, we know the situation. He's not coming back next year with the benching and everything that's going on. Jarrett Stidham, him getting injured in the game against Kansas City. He was a little bit hobbled heading into halftime. With the Las Vegas Raiders, there has been a rumor going around. And by rumor, I mean one person has been saying that this is going to be a reality. And it's the idea that TB12, that the 45-year-old Tom Brady is going to join the Las Vegas Raiders. He is going to join Josh McDaniels again and be his quarterback in Las Vegas. Now, I have my opinion on this, obviously, but King Czar, what would be your feedback on that? The idea that Tom Brady at near 46 years old would team up with Josh McDaniels again, and he'd put on the silver and black here in Vegas.
No, oh man, I'm telling you, the Dallas Cowboys will, shout out to Dennis Holmes, $2 holla, 2 birds with 1 stone. He will get shut down in round 1. He will retire. He will not be coming back to go through what he just went through this season, to just barely make the playoffs because of the luck of a terrible division. He shouldn't even be in the playoffs at 8-8. He is going home. Sorry. He will not be coming back. Thus the rumors that you're hearing.
Absolutely. And for all the Raiders fans out there, look, as much as I like Tom Brady, as much as I respect Tom Brady, let's be honest. If he joined the Las Vegas Raiders, he's not going to save your franchise.
Right.
He's not coming in as a 35-year-old with a decade left. No, he's a 46-year-old with maybe 2 years left at the most. So, and let's also be honest, Mark Davis bringing in Tom Brady would only be for one reason, and for one reason only. Hey, guys, come buy your Tom Brady jerseys today.
Right.
Let's get our bobbleheads and cups and hats. It would be like when Emmitt Smith left the Dallas Cowboys and went to the Arizona Cardinals. They did that because they wanted a billboard for the Arizona Cardinals to say, hey, look, we got this guy.
Right.
It never works out.
Don't remind me of that.
Well, I could have said J.J. Watt, by the way.
Jaguars win the AFC South. It is official. 15, 14, 13. This ball game is over. Props to Sunshine. He has arrived. Props to Doug Peterson. Potentially NFL Coach of the Year.
He'd be my pick.
Yes. So shout out to me and my lock. It sucks because the other guy has the Packers. I think they're going to win, but now I'm kind of rooting for Detroit now. Hey.
Hey, it's not too late to change your pick, man, here on the Sports Angle.
I'm not going to change my pick, but I'm definitely going to be rooting. So,
now, that was a rumor that's been around. However, a report that I can say confidently, because I've been saying it multiple times here on this show, is that the Las Vegas Raiders are willing to spend money on a quarterback this next offseason. There
Right.
has been that report that Lamar Jackson, if he leaves Baltimore, that the Las Vegas Raiders would make a push to get Lamar Jackson. And as somebody, by the way, who's a big fan of Lamar Jackson, to me, he's one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL. He's that talented. If you're the Las Vegas Raiders, you cut Derek Carr, you save yourself a bunch of money. Wouldn't Lamar Jackson be your main priority this offseason to get him a quarterback and have Devontae Adams pretty much have a top 3 quarterback and a top 3 receiver?
Dude, no, that's another. I mean, that's another good place. The only problem is, what do you do with Josh Jacobs? I don't think they can pay both of those guys.
Josh Jacobs is gone. I mean, that 5th-year
Yeah.
option, when they declined it.
So I guess with Lamar, is your quarterback / running back again, I guess, and you put whoever back there at running back. So,
Well, they had this rookie, Zamir White.
No, I know, but I don't know if he's up for being a full-time starter, to replace those shoes. We're talking about the NFL leading rusher this year. But no, I like the spot. Get with Waller. He loves hitting the tight end, a la Mark Andrews. What better way to replace that with Darren Waller, although he's never healthy. But
didn't Darren Waller play in Baltimore at one point?
Right, before he was Darren Waller, they kind of gave up on him because of the off the field, a lot of issues going on.
Right.
And the Raiders, he was almost out of the league before he went to the Raiders. So
that's true. Yes.
But with Adams, Waller, Renfro, even the backup tight end Foster that came and did a little bit of work. You had what's the other receiver with the long hair? They got a nice little situation.
Matt Collins, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good landing spot. I like it.
Now, I'm not gonna shoo off this because once again, I think that he is good as well. But if the Raiders cut Derek Carr and they bring in, let's say, sake of the argument, Jimmy Garoppolo, because Josh McDaniels would love to bring in somebody that he is already familiar with. Right. Would that be a letdown for the Las Vegas Raiders when you compare getting Lamar Jackson, going to the draft and getting a first-round pick and getting a new quarterback? Because it's no secret that when a head coach gets brought in, he wants to bring in his own quarterback. He wants to bring in somebody that's part of his system. So would you be surprised if Jimmy Garoppolo, with his experience with Josh McDaniels, if he ended up becoming a Raider?
I think it's so. Devontae Adams went to the management and told them that he wouldn't request a trade, although they benched his best friend and one of his really good friends, which is why he came to Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. He did, however, tell them, all I ask for you to do is upgrade the quarterback position. That ain't upgrading the quarterback position.
No.
So if you want to keep the best player on your team happy, that's not going to be an option. Tom Brady, again, I don't think he'll be back. He'll be 46, 47. He's already not the same. He's barely leading the team now to the playoffs. So, but I can see that. Like you always say, it is Tom Brady. Tom Brady going there, I think Devontae would be okay with that. Jimmy G, no, it's not the answer.
Yeah. You know what? People are saying, what about Mac Jones? And I'm like, okay, so essentially your solution is old Patriots quarterback, or the current Patriots quarterback. Right. Awesome. You're just making it the Patriots way 5.0.
Right.
So, as we're talking about the Las Vegas Raiders here on the Sports Angle on prconnectionradio.com, the voice of new media, I'm your host, Ian Rakelli. We're here at King Czar. And, kind of shifting gears real quick, the New York Jets, they have a quarterback situation too. The New York Jets, when they drafted Zach Wilson from BYU, they drafted him 2nd overall. He was supposed to be the future in New York, or should I say New Jersey, because that's really where you play anyway. But when it comes to Zach Wilson, he hasn't been the guy. He hasn't been a leader. He has never proven to be the guy. So with the New York Jets, do you think that his walking papers are coming this offseason, that the New York Jets are going to cut Zach Wilson and move on to somebody else?
That's Zach Wilson walking out the gym. Gone. So this is what I think the best case scenario. Let's keep it going. Lamar Jackson, dude. Elijah Moore, right?
Elijah Moore.
Yeah. Garrett Wilson.
James
Underrated Conklin. No. Brees Hall coming back. The best defense of all the teams that we said he could potentially go to with Sauce Gardner and them boys over there.
Yeah, Jermaine Johnson too. Yeah.
Dude, look out for the Jets. I'm all in on Lamar. Zach Wilson goes, you trade him, you'll find a sucker that will give you probably a third-round pick for him that still say, hey, this guy was drafted second.
Carolina. Let's just call it.
There you go. They took Darnold, right? Why not go to the same source and get Wilson? Trade, and you make Mike White your backup. Let's go. Jets, Jets.
I got one better for you. As much as I love Lamar Jackson, I got a better scenario for you.
Okay.
I have had Joshua Bailey from Stay Tuned Live here on the show. I've had Rashad Stribling from It's Bro Time here on the show. And I have passed this idea on to them, and I'll pass it on to you as well. If I'm the New York Jets, I'm calling up the Green Bay Packers. And I'm saying, look, Aaron Rodgers, you clearly know that Aaron Rodgers wants out. He had that whole fiasco the offseason prior. It's clear on the facial expressions that Aaron Rodgers does not want to be there anymore. If I'm the New York Jets, I would pick up the phone, call Green Bay, and say, what do you want? All right, you want 2 first-round picks? Here, there you go. You want first and 2 seconds? All right, there you go. Because I think the Green Bay Packers and New York Jets, I think making a trade and getting Aaron Rodgers to New York, to the Big Apple, I think that would be a fantastic move for the New York Jets, would be have Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback.
Right. Okay. I mean, my thing is this. Now, this is what I'll say about Aaron Rodgers, because it's always speculation. I'm looking at my hourglass. I got them making the playoffs. Now I kind of hope they don't because I'm in a Survivor League. That's for personal reasons. I think they really have a chance to go in the playoffs and make a deep run. So let's say they do. Everything's all well and dandy in Green Bay. Because to be honest, coming in where they're at now, they're I won't say they're playing with house's money because it's still Aaron Rodgers. Ain't nobody going to expect them to beat Philly. Ain't nobody going to expect them to beat the Niners. He never beats the Niners. I don't even think anybody expects him to beat the Cowboys, although he usually does beat the Cowboys.
So, I would say this. If it is the 49ers, he'll lose in the first round.
Well, but my point is, let's say he beats them and they make a little small run. I don't think he's going anywhere. Why?
I mean, if I remember correctly, the whole off-season fiasco, they lost in the divisional round, and he caused all that commotion. You telling me he wouldn't do the same thing again?
Yeah, no, I hear you. But you're talking. So that's why I said you got to look at the mindset. You're talking about a 13-3 number 1 seed, all the expectations in the world, versus a team that was left for dead 4 weeks ago, make the playoffs at 9-8, dead last seed. It's a whole completely different mindset. Now you win. Now you lose an NFC Championship game. I mean, yeah, there's going to be those people that say, "Oh, he lost again in the NFC Championship game." But the way that they're doing it this year, just to get there, in my opinion, would be an accomplishment versus a disappointment last year when you were expected to go. That's all I'm saying.
And you know what? I actually agree with Sean here. Rodgers is only there because of the money. He has no love left for Green Bay.
I mean, I don't even think no pun intended when he said love. No pun intended.
No pun intended. But to be fair, I don't think he ever loved Green Bay to begin with. I really felt like he was never somebody who truly loved Green Bay.
Well, I don't know. It's tough. He was expecting to go a lot higher. I know he did want to go to the 49ers. He played at Cal. He said 100% intent. I like that. But they took care of him. They paid him. They brought in Christian Watford. I think he was happy about that and how the chemistry that they've gotten in the second half of the season.
Oh, yeah.
I think it may be a little better off than most people think. Now again, you make the playoffs, you lose in the first round, 2 versus 7 matchup. There could be some friction. It could be, but then again, there's a sucker born every minute. Dennis Holmes says it. Shout out to Dennis again. The Jets would be a team that would go take on that big old contract from a 36, 37-year-old. And he may be the finishing piece to a Jets team that's ready to make a run. All they need is a leader and a quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing about Green Bay is that, to me, that's just a situation that I feel it's on borrowed time. Eventually, they have to move on from each other. It's not if, but when.
And I can say, from the appearance that Love came in versus last year, he looked better this year.
He did.
He looked like he may be ready to go. So if we factor that in, if Green Bay feels like, hey, he's ready now, because last year they had to bring Rodgers back. He looked lost. So from what we saw, if they feel like, hey, this is where he's at now, it took, Rodgers sat for a while behind Brett Favre. We don't know what Rodgers would have been if he would have went in there from day one and was a starter from day one. He was able to sit behind a legend and learn a lot.
It's deja vu pretty much. Right. I mean, when Rodgers was ready, they told Favre, like, hey, you're done. We're moving on.
Right.
Very similar to the whole Joe Montana, Steve Young situation. Joe Montana, he was, Steve Young was ready. Joe Montana's like, I can still play. And 49ers like, all right, you're done. We're moving you on.
There you go. And it worked out kind of for both teams.
Kind of, yeah.
Right.
Now, we got about 10 minutes left here on the Sports Angle on PRConnectionRadio.com, the voice of new media. I'm your host, Ian Rickelli. We're here with King Czar. Now, we talked about your Dallas Cowboys, at the beginning of the second hour, and I said that the Dallas Cowboys, if they took on the Philadelphia Eagles in the divisional round, I think not only would it be the best playoff game minus the Super Bowl, but I would say that you would actually have Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott. You would really see 2 of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL going at it. But speaking of Jalen Hurts, we all know about contracts. We know that when young superstar quarterbacks develop at the NFL, they're eventually going to get paid. Now, Patrick Mahomes currently has the biggest extension from a rookie deal in NFL history. Right. But with Jalen Hurts doing what he's doing now, and with how inflation and how everything's going up and up in the NFL, do you think that Jalen Hurts will not only get an extension this offseason, but will the Philadelphia Eagles surpass the Kansas City Chiefs and give Jalen Hurts the biggest rookie extension in NFL history?
No, I mean, between him and Lamar, I think they're going to be, I'm going to guess about 45 per, which I think will place them behind. I believe we went over it, I think, offline. I believe it was Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, and I think Aaron Rodgers. I know that some contracts are broken down differently year to year.
Of course.
More. But I think average, Jalen Hurts would be top 5, probably top 3, 4. Same with Lamar Jackson. I don't think either one of them will be number 1 highest paid when we're said and done.
So number 2 then, number 3 around there?
Yeah, 3, 4.
Yeah. Because to me, it's just fascinating. Like when you look at these rookie extensions, like after they have that 5-year option, they're then given that rookie extension deal. And Mahomes, him being number 1 in terms of annual value. And to me, I just look at it and go, with the way the NFL is, these rookie extensions just keep going up and up and up. So I feel like it doesn't matter if it's Lamar Jackson this year or Jalen Hurts next year. I just think that eventually Patrick Mahomes, his mega deal, I think it was $450 million. Right. That was his rookie extension with the Chiefs. Right. I think eventually will be surpassed. I'm just really curious to see who's going to do it.
Right. I agree.
And speaking of young quarterbacks, we got about 5 minutes left here in the show. San Francisco 49ers, Brock Purdy's been the feel-good story of the year. Mr. Irrelevant, now leading a team into the playoffs. For next season, San Francisco 49ers, you have Trey Lance, you have Brock Purdy. We know Jimmy Garoppolo's pretty much gone at this point.
We
So
said
with
that
San
last
Francisco,
year.
essentially. So when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers, if you are John Lynch, if you are Kyle Shanahan, the executives in San Francisco, week 1 of the 2023 NFL season, King Czar, who's going to be under center for San Francisco?
I'm going to go Trey Lance if he's ready. Now, he got hurt very early. We've seen Joe Burrow, I think when he tore his ACL, he got hurt a little later than even Trey Lance and was ready for week 1. Lance is very young, very athletic. I'm sure he's killing it in the rehab. I'm going Trey Lance as your starter. I'm going Brock Purdy as your backup. I'm going Jimmy G will be elsewhere. Maybe the Jets. We talked about Lamar. Lamar can't go everywhere. So these are just different scenarios. I can see Jimmy G going to the Jets. His ex-defensive coordinator is over there coaching. They're familiar with each other. So I think that'll be a good landing spot for remember Jimmy G, the type of team he needs. He's a serviceable manager. He needs a great defense, a great running game, and still weapons on the outside. The Jets are one of the few teams that has all that. So I think that's the perfect fit for the Jets. And I think Trey Lance, they gave up too much to draft Trey Lance at number 3. He will get the opportunity to lead this team again next year if ready.
So I actually have 2 observations on that. So first off, I say that it should be a battle at training camp. I believe that it should be an open battle between Lance and Purdy. And during the preseason, whoever is performing better, whoever is the quarterback who actually is performing at a better rate, regardless if you're picked 256 or if you're picked second. What the whole situation is, when it comes to the quarterback situation, I believe whoever is the better performing quarterback should be the starting quarterback next year. So if Brock Purdy's doing better than Trey Lance, he should be a starting quarterback. If Trey Lance is performing better than Brock Purdy, then Trey Lance should be the starting quarterback. So when it comes to that, that's the way I see it. I think Brock Purdy personally has been performing better than Trey Lance was. Granted, it was a small sample size for Trey Lance. We've had about 7 weeks of Brock Purdy.
Right.
Now, with Jimmy Garoppolo, I actually think that wherever DeMeco Ryans gets hired as a head coach, I wouldn't be surprised if he brought Jimmy Garoppolo with him. Because DeMeco Ryans would already have a familiarity with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Well, it would depend on where he goes. I mean, again, let's look at the teams that possibly, are landing spots. Yeah, the Colts, they need a quarterback. See it there. Washington Redskins, they need a quarterback. I mean, the Heineke experiment, the second time.
How about Carolina?
It didn't work. They need a quarterback. It didn't work. Denver is the only team that doesn't. Do they need a quarterback? I don't know.
I mean, we'll show disrespect, but not that much disrespect.
Right. So, I can definitely see that, As someone mentioned the Raiders, I'm not sure if Devontae Adams will be happy with that. I don't think when he goes to management and tell them I'm not requesting the trade, just upgrade the position. I'm not sure if that's the answer that he's looking for. Devontae Adams is a down the field receiver, and that's one thing that Jimmy G can't do is throw the ball down the field. So, see what happens.
And do you think that Jimmy G would be a backup? Like, worst case scenario, he goes to Miami and joins Mike McDaniel once again, who was his offensive coordinator?
I can see that. Now, the Tua thing is a real mystery, and that's perfect because with the concussion and all this stuff going on, that's the perfect insurance. Another good team, all the weapons, not a shutdown defense like the Niners or possibly the Jets, but a good defense, and again a good running game. Pretty, and a familiar running back in Mostert and Jeff Wilson. They were all his teammates, so that's a really good landing spot.
So we have about 90 seconds left here on the Sports Angle on prconnectionradio.com, the voice of new media. So very quickly, Czar, last little segment here. Your Super Bowl prediction. Who do you have as your Super Bowl matchup in about a month now? Who do you got?
I'm not going to be a homer, man, because anybody can say their teams. I'm not.
Oh, come on, be a homer.
Nah, I'm not going to pick the Cowboys. I had the Chiefs from day one. Everyone took a dump on the Chiefs. Everyone was on the Denver Broncos train. Everyone was on the Chargers train, Khalil Mack and all these guys. And everyone was on the Raiders train, Devontae Adams. Everyone was saying the Chiefs are going to come in last. I told everybody before the season started, y'all do forget Kansas City has the Michael Jordan of football. His name is Patrick Mahomes. He didn't need Tyreek Hill. I ain't going to say he made Tyreek Hill. There's a handful of quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers is one of them. They don't need a number one receiver to thrive. When you're that good, you're that good. You can make a receiver number one. So sticking with my Chiefs from day one. And you know what's funny? Do you remember? It's on the Buck Flair show. Do you remember who my NFC pick was from day one with the Chiefs? Take a guess.
49ers?
Hell no. Let me give you one more tip. Think about
it. Green Bay Packers?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And that looked terrible at around week 8, week 7, week 9. I'm sticking with it. This is 2010 all over again. Green Bay Packers versus the Kansas City Chiefs, the best two quarterbacks of the last 20 years, and Tom Brady, going head up.
You know what? People in the Midwest, you're definitely going to love King Czar's answer. Now, I'm going to be a little more balanced here. From the AFC, give me Josh Allen. Give me the Buffalo Bills. You know, what they're going to be riding off the momentum and riding off of what happened, last week. We all know what happened. But the Buffalo Bills and all the emotion and everything that will be going on. So I will say the Buffalo Bills, they're going to have a lot of passion and a lot of things that will be fueling them the next couple of weeks. So I say Buffalo from the AFC, and on the NFC, give me the best defense in the NFL. Give me the San Francisco 49ers. So I will say that Buffalo, San Francisco will be the Sports Angle on PR Connection Radio's pick. Now, we have about 60 seconds left. So King Czar, thank you for coming on the show. If you have any projects or anything you're working on, let the people know.
Man, you can catch me every Tuesday night with the doubleheader, two of the best podcasts in the game, Ignorant Thinkers Podcast, and stay tuned. Every Tuesday, we bring you first and foremost, we come with Ignorant Thinkers Talk Your Ish Tuesday, which is 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And then follow right after, Stay Tuned Live, which is 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, Facebook and YouTube. So please follow at Stay Tuned Live, and please follow Ignorant Thinkers Podcast. You don't want to miss these shows every Tuesday.
Yeah, and your host, Andrew Kelly, occasionally appears on there from time to time as well.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, definitely, King Czar. Thanks for having you come on the show. And follow your host on social media at Sports Angle on PR or at Ian Rakelli 18. So, until next time, have a good one. Continue watching sports. Have a great weekend, and have a good one.
Peace out.